Well, the T is taking a strict new zero-tolerance policy on cell phones. Any driver now caught with a cell phone while behind the controls risks being fired, even if they aren't using the phone. This all stems from Friday night's Green Line crash. WBZ's Peg Risconi is live in Brookline tonight. Peg, the T Drivers Union apparently supports the move.
Well, they do, although drivers that we spoke with here at the reservoir station by and large decline comment, at least not on camera. Now, there has been an emergency hotline in place, a way for drivers' families to reach them on trains in case of an emergency. That said, one driver told me off camera she's concerned now about the new policy making her inaccessible to her kids. The new stickers being plastered near the controls of MBTA trolleys and trains are meant to grab drivers' attention and remind them of something that could now cost them their job, their cell phone.
A moment's convenience, is not worth jeopardizing the safety of our passengers.
Under the new rules, the first offense for talking or texting on duty will result in the driver being fired. The first offense for possession of a cell phone on duty brings a 10-day suspension. After a second offense, the driver will be fired. T officials say they know the vast majority of operators refrain from phoning and texting while driving. But Friday's collision, caused officials say by a texting trolley operator, convinced them they needed tougher rules.
I know what I saw on Friday night in that tunnel. I know what the cause was, and I know that this new policy would have prevented it.
T officials are also getting tough with driver Aiden Quinn, who officials say told police he was sending a text message when he blew through a red signal and rear-ended another trolley. He's been told in a letter, "You are hereby ordered to report for an interview. Your failure to report will result in a recommendation for your discharge." And the T's general manager has already said he plans to fire Quinn, but procedurally, supervisors at the T must actually try to meet with him one more time. Quinn has declined so far. Additionally, federal safety investigators investigating the crash have also wanted to meet with Quinn. In fact, they had a subpoena ready to compel him to meet with them. But because criminal charges are still possible in this case, Quinn's attorney said she advised him to say nothing, to basically plead the fifth, Jack.
Peg, I'm curious, how does the T plan to enforce this new policy?
Well, Dan Grabowskis, it's a good question. He said he's certainly not advising supervisors to, say, search operators' bags before they get on trains. He does think the job risk is so great if you have a cell phone that will basically force drivers to comply with the new policy and leave their phones off the train.
I think the public is sure for it. All right, Peg, thank you very much. While agreeing to the ban, the union representing T operators claims the T lacks a commitment to safety. The union is citing antiquated T signals that do not utilize the so-called rail-safe systems. Now, those systems are used by other major transit authorities across the United States. For instance, in New York, both the city subway and the Metro North commuter rail use the automated stopping systems that are called trip stops on the rails. If a train ignores a red signal, the emergency brake is automatically engaged either through a wireless signal or mechanical arm on the tracks. Similar systems are used in San Francisco and Washington, D.C., and on the MBTA's red and orange lines. But the T's GM says a system like that on the Green Line could actually limit service because of how closely all of those trains run together. Caving to pressure, Craigslist is making a big change to its website. The online classifieds company will get rid of its erotic services section. They're going to replace it with an adult category. Now, there will be a fee to use this section. Every ad will be reviewed before it's posted online. Attorneys General pushed for the change after Philip Markoff, a BU med student, was arrested for killing a woman who advertised massage services on Craigslist. One official calls the erotic service ads, quote, a blatant internet brothel. This recession is certainly taking its toll even on the most famous shopping street in Boston. Stores on Newbury Street are closing up shop.
WBZ's Don Hasbrook is live on Newbury Street tonight. Don, it's a little deceiving on a gorgeous night like this because you still see a lot of people out there.
It is deceiving. There are a lot of people out here shopping, even if it is window shopping in this recession. But a lot of the stores are struggling to stay open. The rent here, it goes for between $60 per square foot up to $250 per square foot. So it's expensive to stay in business.
Gap gone. Pottery Barn pulling out soon. Lewis Boston leaving next spring. Waterworks walked away just weeks ago. Walk any Newberry Street block and you see the signs of an exodus.
It's terrible. I mean, even my favorite restaurant closed.
Diego salon owner Nestor Real recently took in employees of another Newberry Street salon when it closed.
We were able to house most of them in this salon, which has been great because now all our chairs are full and we're fairly productive, even in these difficult economic times.
15-year Ferry shop owner Michael Saletto says shops just couldn't hold on.
I just think a lot of people didn't make it this holiday season. It was a very rough season.
The reason, business owners say, the rent.
That a lot of people have bought these buildings and have jacked up the rents, so the small businesses can't afford to stay here anymore.
15 to 25%.
That's how much Charles Talanian is cutting the rent in his 5 vacant spaces.
I did not purchase the buildings last year or the year before. I literally own them, so I can afford to make it reasonable for people to open up a new business.
He says he owns more property than anyone else on Newberry, including the building in which Shelly Mendez has owned Salon Monet for 7 years.
I sent him a proposal, asked him to keep my rent the same, and he did, and I'm able to stay another year or 2.
Now, that property owner, Mr. Talanian, said a lot of his current tenants are now asking him to renegotiate their current leases. He says he will look at their business, look at their accounting, and talk about it. Anything, he says, to continue Newberry Street's years of success. Live in Boston, Dawn Hasbrook, WBZ News. Back to you, Jack and Lisa.
Yeah, that's always been such a vibrant area down there on Newberry Street. How many shops did you see close today?
Well, my photographer and I walked about 5 blocks of Newberry Street, and we found about 15 vacant spots. So there is a lot of space available, and we didn't even walk the length of Newberry Street, which goes from Arlington Street to Mass Ave. So as you can see, there are a lot of businesses that need to be filled.
All right, Dawn Hasbrook live on Newberry Street tonight. Thank you, Dawn.